Welcome to Star Lab Lesson 2. Location, location, location. Finding your way around the sky. Remember, this is a screencast of what we would have seen if we were able to go into the Star Lab. On our screen, the sky looks like a flat circle. We have the horizon, where the sky meets the land, and we have our directions marked in the horizon. Here we're looking at a typical night sky, not far from New York City. We can see the moon over here and lots of stars. On a typical night, if you're not near any streetlights or buildings, you can see several thousand stars. They don't all look the same. Some are bigger, some are brighter, and some have different colors. People of the past noticed these differences too. Other cultures looked up into the night sky, and they made stories about the patterns they saw. They noticed the stars were not spread evenly across the sky, and some stars appeared to form groups. By looking at those groups and the brightest stars and connecting them together, people long ago made patterns. Today we have a special name for those patterns. They're called asterisms. Let's look at a few asterisms. If we look into the sky, I'm going to show you 3 bright stars. Here they are labeled. If we were to connect these stars together, what shape would we make? It would be a triangle. This is called summer triangle. It is an asterism. Even though it's visible well into the fall, it's called summer triangle because it first appears in the sky during the summer. Now, if we look a little to the south and higher in the sky, we're going to look at 4 stars that form another pattern. Here they are labeled. So if we connect these 4 stars with lines, what shape would we see? We would see a square. This asterism is called the Great Square or the Square of Pegasus. Now, watch what happens when we start the Earth rotating. I'm going to be rotating the Earth much faster than it rotates in real life so that we can see what happens to these asterisms. The stars appear to move. Notice, some stars are setting in the western horizon. New stars appear in the eastern horizon. What's happening to the stars in summer triangle? They appear to be setting behind the horizon, moving off of our screen, not visible in the night sky anymore. Once people discovered that the patterns in the stars always stayed the same, they didn't have to worry about remembering individual stars. All they had to do was look up into the sky and search for those special patterns. That helped people to tell direction. Well, let me tell you what I mean. Going back to 12 o'clock a.m. in the night sky. Now, if we look towards the north near the horizon, we should be able to see some relatively bright stars that make up a very famous asterism. The Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is an asterism made up of these stars. Now, watch what happens to the Big Dipper as I start the Earth rotating again. You know that the stars will appear to move. The Big Dipper's position in the night sky is changing. The motion of the Big Dipper is different than the motion of Summer Triangle or Great Square. Remember, Summer Triangle and Great Square moved across the sky and then disappeared beyond the horizon. Look at the Big Dipper. From our view on Earth, the Big Dipper never appears to set. It simply pinwheels around the sky. And because of this, we say that this asterism is circumpolar. It appears to move around the star Polaris. Let me show you Polaris. It's easy to find once you have found the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper has pointer stars that lead the way. The Big Dipper has two parts to it. There are 3 stars that make up the handle and 4 stars that make up the bowl or the scooper part. And at the end of that scoop, there are 2 stars on the bowl that we call pointer stars. If you follow the line that they make, they will point you in the direction of Polaris. Here's our pointer stars pointing us to Polaris. Well, Polaris doesn't look particularly special. It's not the brightest, it's not the biggest, it's not colorful, but Polaris is a very special star. I'm going to start the Earth rotating backwards so that we don't go into daytime and we stay in the nighttime sky. And I want you to keep your eye on Polaris. Do you notice anything different about Polaris? Watch the motion of the Big Dipper. Look at Polaris. Of all the stars in the night sky, Polaris is the only one that appears to stay fixed in the same spot all night long, every night of the year. You can always find it directly north in the sky, and because of this, Polaris has another name, the North Star. I'm going to start the Earth moving forward again. In this lesson, we learned that from the Earth's rotation, the stars appear to move across the night sky. One very special star, named Polaris, is always in the north. Asterisms are small patterns of recognizable stars, or recognizable patterns of stars. The Big Dipper is an asterism. Asterisms and stars that always stay in the night sky and circle Polaris are called circumpolar. Thanks for joining us on our Star Lab lesson.